Hola, buenas tardes con todos. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros el día de hoy. Estamos hoy con EducationUSA y University of Texas at Austin, conversando de los pasos a seguir para un estudiante internacional que quiere hacer sus posgrados en Estados Unidos. Hablaremos sobre todo lo que es admisiones, visas, todo lo que un estudiante internacional tiene que saber. Les recuerdo que con the University of Texas at Austin tenemos un convenio maravilloso del 45% de descuento en el valor de la matrícula si es que son seleccionados para el programa de crédito beca y si son admitidos a la universidad, por supuesto. Les recuerdo que el programa crédito beca es una convocatoria, vuelve a abrir el 10 de enero, cierra el 28 de febrero y los resultados se dan el 11 de mayo por si les interesa aplicar. Podrán encontrar más información del programa Crédito Beca en colfuturo.org haciendo clic en programas y luego en programas Crédito Beca está toda la información. Entonces, hoy les presento, estamos con Carlos Acosta, él es un estudiante en the University of Texas at Austin y es de la ciudad de Barranquilla. Entonces, si tienen preguntas sobre estudiantes colombianos que ya están allá en su proceso, por favor vayan poniéndolas en el chat, que con mucho gusto al final estaremos contestando. Y también estamos con Angela, la representante de la universidad, que va a dar la presentación. También a cualquier punto, si tienen preguntas pues de los temas que vamos a conversar, vayan mandando sus preguntas en el chat y al final tendremos una sección para responderlas. So Angela y Carlos, thank you so much for being here today. Angela, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Angela Brannigan, and I currently serve as the Assistant Director for the Sponsored and Exchange Programs team at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm excited to be here with you today to talk to you a little bit about the wonderful University of Texas, which I am actually an alumni of. So I have a lot of great things to say. We'll start with the visa application process because I know a lot of students have questions about that. And then we'll go into our main presentation regarding the university. And then, of course, as Bianca said, we'll open it up to questions toward the end. So I'd like to start by talking about the pathway to becoming an international student. One of the things that you obviously have to first do is apply for admission to the university. If coming to the University of Texas at Austin, you would apply directly to the Graduate Department of Interest here at UT. Once you're admitted by the graduate school at the University of Texas, our office, which is Texas Global, and I'll give you some more information about us in a little bit, will send you an email with information on how to access the MyIO portal, where you'll begin to upload documents needed for us to initiate your immigration process. Some of the documents that you'll need to send us in order for us to give you the immigration document needed to apply for your visa is proof of financial support. Proof of financial support can be shown in various ways. You can show personal and or family funds. A lot of graduate students are employed at the university as a graduate assistant or teaching assistant or research assistant. So you could also show funding by your academic department. And then, of course, if you are sponsored, you'll show us your sponsor guarantee letter. Proof of financial support, we do have to see a certain amount. Typically, it's 1 year of funding in tuition fees and living expenses. If you are going to have the opportunity to pay resident tuition, that's about $11,000 a year. If you're paying non-resident tuition, that's about $19,000 a year. In addition to tuition and fees, we also have to see that you have money to support yourself here at the university for at least 1 year. That's roughly $20,000 for a student. You will have to show additional funding if you are bringing any dependents, so a spouse and or children. We listed the fees here, though keep in mind that the cost of tuition, fees, and living expenses will increase year by year. It increases about $500 to $1,000, it just depends. And the amounts that we ask for our students to show in living expenses are typically for those who live a frugal lifestyle. So these are the minimum amounts, and if you're able to bring a bit more, that would be great. This is what the immigration document will look like. So once you're admitted and you've showed us proof of financial support, we'll issue you an immigration document. Most sponsor students come on the F1 visa, but we also have a number of sponsored students that come on the J1 visa. Both of them are student visa categories. They're both non-immigrant student visa categories. Depending on which document you have, you will have to pay a SEVIS fee. If you're coming as an F1, the fee for that is $350. If you're coming on the J1 visa, the fee for that is $220. Just so you know, the SEVIS fee does go toward the maintenance of the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. It does not go to the college or university. So once you have your immigration document and proof of your SEVIS fee payment, you'll then apply for your US visa. So in order to apply for a US visa, you'd have to make an appointment at the US Embassy or Consulate nearest to you. When you make that appointment, and just so you know, you only need your SEVIS ID number to make that initial appointment, then you'll need your actual document, your DS 2019 or I-20 to apply for the visa. When you go, you'll have to, again, show adequate financial support. Just basically that you have enough money to support yourself while in the United States. Very important is you have to prove non-immigrant intent or sufficient ties to your home country. This can be done by showing you have family, your immediate family is in your home country. Maybe you have a job that you're taking a leave of absence for to get your master's or your PhD, so you have a job to return to, or you own land or a home or a business in your particular country. So those are great ways to show ties to your home country. The consular officer is also going to look that your academic objective matches your background. So if you're coming here to do engineering, it's likely that you have an engineering background. That's what you've been studying or working in an engineering type position. And then you are going to have to demonstrate that you have sufficient ability to speak English. Obviously, they want to know that you will be able to follow in the US classroom and do okay in an English setting. Ironically, the way they test this is through an interview, but the interview is about 2 minutes. It's pretty short. You know, maybe later Carlos can tell you about his interview. I know I've heard from a lot of students that they ask you just very basic questions, and that's how they gauge your English language ability and your intentions for coming to the United States. So once you are granted your J1 or F1 visa, you'll then prepare to enter the United States, keeping in mind that you cannot enter, or you can enter up to 30 days before the start date that is listed on your immigration document. When you enter the country, they're going to give you at the port of entry an I-94. It's an I-94 record, which basically shows that you made a legal entry in F or J status into the United States. Once you arrive in Austin, we'll ask you to complete what's called an IBC, or an immigration briefing and check-in. You'll work to remove all your registration bars, which once you're admitted to the university, we will send you a lot of information regarding registration bars, what they are, and how to remove them. Once you do that, then you can enroll as a full-time student. And keeping in mind that as a graduate student at the University of Texas, full-time enrollment is considered 9 hours. If you're pursuing a law degree, that would be about 10 hours. So that's basically the process of, a quick run through of the process of coming to the United States and obtaining the visa. Now we're going to talk about, the University of Texas, student support and resources. I will go into the admission process with you and talk a little bit about life in Austin. So we'll start with a university overview. The University of Texas at Austin was founded in 1883 with 1 building and 221 students and 8 professors. So it was quite small, or at least small to me. Flash forward to today, why you'll realize why I think it's so small, is now we have 18 colleges and schools, approximately 52,000 students attending the university at any given time. And that breaks down to about 41,000 undergraduate students and 11,000 graduate students. Of that 52,000 students, about 10.5% of that is international. So we have a large international population at UT. And those students represent about more than 120 countries across the world. To support the 52,000 students, we have 24,000 faculty and staff. The university does offer around 237 graduate degree programs. So I'm confident that there's something for everyone. There are 17 academic libraries. And if you notice, there are 18 colleges and schools. So basically what this means is that every school but one has their own library. We have 4 art and or history museums on campus that you have access to as a student, and then 15 career centers. So that's something new, something that we didn't have when I was a student at the university. But in addition to educating you in your graduate level degree, the university is also focused and invested in not only educating you, but then helping you obtain a career upon getting your degree. So most of the colleges and schools have their own career center embedded with them, where you can meet and they'll help you, advisors will help you secure internships, update your resumes, practice for interviewing, different things like that. So I think that's a really great resource that's provided at the university. So I'm sure you're interested in the different colleges and schools and the types of degrees that we have here at the University of Texas. Here are all of them. I won't read them, but you're welcome to read through. But it's good to note that UT offers graduate study in 14 colleges and schools, and offers more than 80 doctoral and 120 master degree programs. 49 of the graduate programs at UT are ranked in the top 10 in the United States by the US News and World Report. These programs include petroleum engineering, computer science, educational administration, pharmacy, social work, and accounting. Additionally, each year, I think it's something great to note is that the university awards approximately 3,700 graduate degrees. So that's roughly, the breakdown is about almost 3,000 master's degrees and about 700 or more doctoral degrees are awarded each year by UT. As far as rankings are concerned, we have great stats. The Times Higher Education World University ranked us the number one public university in Texas. The US News and World Report ranked the University of Texas number 10 as far as public universities go in the United States. And then the US News and World Report ranked UT as number 43 as far as universities go globally. So I think these are some great stats. It's something that I'm very proud of, that the university is very proud of. UT is also an excellent research university. It's one of the largest research universities in the state of Texas and potentially in the nation. UT is one of the, as I said, the world's leading research institutions that supports cutting edge research in all disciplines and offers more than 200 dedicated research units and centers. We are number 1 in receiving funding from the National Science Foundation. We are number 4 in the world for the most patents that have been granted to researchers here at the university. And we receive roughly $800 million, or we have received about $800 million in research funding since 2020. So that number has definitely increased since then. In addition to academics, we are also well known for our collections and performing arts. As I mentioned earlier, there are various museums on campus and libraries. We have the Bass Concert Hall, which is the flagship theater of the Texas Performing Arts. It's the largest theater in Austin, seats about 3,000 people. It's ranked as one of the finest performing spaces in the United States due to its size and accoutrements. Thus, it attracts the world's greatest performers and productions. Due to this, the Bass Concert Hall puts on about 600 performances a year. As students of the university and staff, we get some nice discounts to different performances, but I've seen many a Broadway show at the Bass Concert Hall, so it's a wonderful facility. The Blanton Museum of Art is one of my favorite places on campus, especially if you are an art lover, have appreciation for the arts. The Blanton Museum showcases art from across the ages. There's ancient Greece pottery to arts of expressionism. It's a beautiful, beautiful museum that you all can access for free as students of the university. There's also the Harry Ransom Center. Harry Ransom was actually a UT professor back in the day. He, after being a professor, he also was at one point the University of Texas president, and then eventually became chancellor of the university. The Ransom Center is a world-renowned humanities research center that focuses on photography, literature, film, and the performing arts. Another very famous space on campus is the LBJ Presidential Library and Museum. It is a research library and museum that covers the presidency of Lyndon Baines Johnson. We also have the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection. The Benson, that's what we call it here, is a global destination for research and study. It has over 1 million volumes, as well as a wealth of original manuscripts, photographs, and various media related to Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean and Latino presence in the United States. So a lot of wonderful collections and arts that you can find on the campus. Next, we'll go into student support and resources. So I talked a little bit about the stats of the university, the various research rankings, the colleges and schools. So it's quite a large university. So we have a wealth of resources for our student population. I would like to focus first on Texas Global. Texas Global is the office that I work for. It is kind of the epicenter of all things international, all things that are happening internationally on campus, or at least trying to be. It is also one of the offices that you will work with most frequently if you plan to attend the University of Texas. We are comprised of several units, but probably the ones that relate to our students mostly are, we have an English language center or school. We have a global programs and innovation unit that focuses on Department of State grant development, entrepreneurship development, things of that nature. We do have an education abroad section that focuses on sending students out to study for a semester or more in other countries. And then we have International Student Scholar Services, which is the unit within Texas Global that I work for, and the unit that all international students will work with while they're at the university. So I'd like to focus a little bit on some of the services that ISSS does provide. We provide international student advising, sponsored student support, intercultural programming. This does include immigration support. So we have a number of advisors on staff here to help explain the rules and immigration benefits, to help you plan how to strategically use your immigration benefits during your academic career. We will assist you with complex student immigration issues as sponsored students, so students who are receiving funding for their degree. We have a dedicated advisor to work with you one-on-one for any immigration and or academic matters you encounter. And one of the main services we provide for sponsor students is our third-party billing services. Basically what that means is we pay your tuition up front, and then by the payment deadline, so you don't have to stress about that. And then we will turn around and send an invoice to your sponsor, who will then remit payment for us. So it's a great service that we provide. It takes a lot of stress off of the student and the sponsor in trying to pay, get the money over to pay the tuition and fees on time. And then we do intercultural programming. So we are dedicated to providing intercultural opportunities for our international students. We'll pair you with domestic students for language and culture exchange. We'll host social hours, bus trips to different parts of Texas so you can kind of get out and around and see different areas of the state. We have a friendship program, and we also collaborate with the Counseling and Mental Health Center to host monthly counseling and mental health sessions to help support you as international students at the university. So outside of Texas Global, as I mentioned, there are a wealth of resources at the university. I, of course, can't go over every single one because that would take way too much time, but I've highlighted a few that I think would be of interest to you and that would be frequently accessed by you all. In regard to student support centers, if you are wanting to stay healthy and fit and exercise while you're here, it's a great stress relief, of course. We have wonderful facilities at the university. We have Gregory Gym and the Rec Sports Center. We have indoor tracks because I'm sure you've heard Texas is quite hot. So running outside is a little rough. So you can run inside if you're a runner. All kinds of, tennis, basketball, volleyball courts, different things like that, and a beautiful swimming pool that students can access, again, for free as students of the university. We also have on campus a health center. It is only open during business hours, which is Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. However, during those times, you can make appointments to see doctors or nurses. It's part of your student health insurance plan. And so essentially it seems like it's free, but it's just you don't have to pay out of pocket for those services. We have the counseling and mental health service on campus. We have counselors who are hired specifically to work with our international students to help with culture shock or homesickness, tips during finals, studying tips and different things like that. It's a great service provided to our student population. And then we also have a Services for Student with Disability Center. So this is for any student at the university who requires any type of accommodation, whether it be due to, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, any mobility issues, hearing, vision issues, anything like that. You can register with the Services for Students with Disabilities to get accommodations granted for you to support you through your time at the university. In addition to those student support services, we also provide academic success support in the form of academic advisors. So there's academic advisors in every program. Not only do you have an academic advisor, but you have your professors, your teaching assistants, your graduate coordinators. There are several people on staff to help support you, help you design a degree plan, review prerequisites, maybe change your degree plan depending on how you're doing. There are office hours. Professors and teaching assistants hold office hours. So if you're needing any additional support from your professor in a class, you can show up to their office hours and get that support. I also recommend if you're not struggling in the class, you just want to meet your professor. I think it's a great idea for your professor to know who you are, get to know you a little bit better. You are also welcome to use those office hours for that activity as well. Excuse me. We also have a university writing center in the Sanger Learning Centers. These are for students to assist with writing research papers, helping update resumes, any type of grammatical or writing support that you might need. You can get that in those centers. And then again, a number of libraries on campus to help what places to go to study, quiet places to go to study and or conduct research, access materials, archives, different things like that. So a lot of resources on campus. We get a lot of questions about campus safety. This is the great questions. I think it's something good to know when you're traveling to another country, another environment. You'd like to know, is it safe and what is available to you to help keep you safe? One of the things I love about the University of Texas is that we have our very own police department on campus. It's called the UTPD. Like I said, they're located on campus. Number of police officers are available. They patrol the campus area. They're on bicycles. They also have cars as well. They do presentations for students. They'll do classes for women, like self-defense classes. It's just, they provide really great services to the university population. We also have SureWalk, which is made up of student volunteers. It's a student organization. There's a phone number that you can call day or night if you're studying late in a library on campus. You don't want to walk by yourself back to your dorm or your apartment. As long as where you're going is within walking distance, you can call the SureWalk line and students will show up and escort you to where you're wanting to go. So it's a sense of security. We also, UT partners with Lyft, which is a rideshare company here in the US, in Austin, where you can call Lyft 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and they will come pick you up and drive you back to your apartment or to campus. They won't go drop you off at the mall or anything like that, but as long as you're going from campus to your home, you can call this Lyft service and ride that. And I believe it actually is a free service. There are also various emergency call boxes scattered around campus. They're lit up with blue lights if you're again walking around, whether it be day or night, and for whatever reason you don't feel safe and you'd like UTPD to come to you, just find one of those call boxes and hit the button, and UTPD will be with you in a matter of like 2 to 3 minutes. It doesn't take very long. And then we have something that developed during the pandemic. It's called Protect Texas. This is the unit that is dedicated to COVID research, COVID vaccinations, providing vaccinations and boosters and guidance following CDC guidelines, and putting out guidance to the university staff at large in regard to COVID safety. I put a link here in the presentation if you're wanting to jot that down. Of course, we can always send out this presentation later if needed, but that will give you a link to all the services that I just mentioned, as well as more. Okay, so we'll talk now about the admission process. To be considered for graduate admission to the University of Texas, you must meet both the minimum requirements set by the graduate school, as well as any requirements set by the individual graduate program to which you're going to apply to. Keep in mind, oftentimes the program's requirements are more rigorous than those set by the graduate school. Also, keep in mind that each program does set its own deadline, application deadline, so be privy to those, and requires the submission of additional materials, materials in addition to what materials the graduate school requires. These materials, as I said, will vary by program, and they could include letters of reference, auditions, work samples, personal statements, things of that nature. Each graduate program does have an admission coordinator, so you can contact that admission coordinator for your program to determine deadlines and materials that are required, and seek advice and things like that on the admission process. So aside from the extra requirements that would be required by the individual department that you're applying to, general eligibility to apply is that you have to have a bachelor's degree you have to have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution in the United States or a comparable degree from a foreign academic institution. You also have to have at minimum a 3.0 grade point average or the equivalent, test scores, official test scores, like a GRE is one of the tests that domestic students have to take to get into grad school. So you'll need to check with your admission coordinator for the program that you're interested in applying to determine what tests are required. Keep in mind, as international students, you will need to prove English ability. So you'll need to take a TOEFL or an IELTS test. Those are the only two tests accepted by UT Austin, TOEFL or IELTS, that determines your English ability. Of course, adequate preparation for your application, additional program requirements set forth by your department, and then just ensuring that you submit everything by the deadline. So once you have all your materials together, you're going to want to complete an online application, pay the application fee. The application fee, I believe, is I think it's like $90 for international applicants or non-residents. You will have to submit your official transcript or transcripts if you've gone to multiple other colleges or universities. Submit your test score, so your TOEFL, your IELTS, your GRE, or whatever equivalent tests are required by your graduate program. submit all your department requirements. As I mentioned, if you need letters of references or audition tapes, personal statements, things like that. And then again, submitting everything by the admission deadline set by that individual department. This link too will take you to the website of graduate school admissions that outlines everything in greater detail than what I've just went over. I think it's a very helpful tool for you to review. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the presentation, and we're going to wrap it up by talking about life in Austin. Austin is a wonderful city. I've lived in Austin for probably 25 years now. Like I said, I also went to the University of Texas at Austin, so I've lived here for quite some time. I think I've actually lived here longer than I lived in my own city of birth, which is San Antonio in Texas. Austin is the #1 fastest growing city in America, 9 years running. It's said statistically that 169 new residents move to Austin a day. We have a lot of people coming in from California. I know that because we're a high-tech city. As you know, Tesla recently opened here, so that has brought a lot over here. We are also known as the self-proclaimed live music capital of the world. So if you like live music, this is definitely the place to be. You can find live music at any given day of the week. There are bands and musicians that play at restaurants as well as concert venues. We have very large music festivals here, ACL, Austin City Limits, where hundreds of bands come to the city to perform for everyone here. It's a very active city. It's a young city, I would say. So if you like the outdoors, it's a very outdoorsy city. Many hiking and biking trails. We have multiple lakes where you can go kayaking, canoeing. You could rent a boat and go out on the water. It's really nice. The lake life is really, really nice here. And in general, I would say it's an informal city. It's very friendly. It's progressive. In regard, when you compare it to other cities in the state of Texas, it's fairly safe. It's actually voted one of the safest cities in the state of Texas. As I mentioned, it's an outdoorsy city. There are a lot of activities. That's the Pennybacker Bridge there. As you can see, the boats there on the water going under the bridge, a lot of lake life, a lot of hiking, great barbecue. Texas is known for its barbecue, so there's places you can get Texas barbecue everywhere. But don't worry, for those of you who are vegetarian, Austin is a great place for vegetarians, people who are gluten-free, who are vegan. It's a very food-friendly city. And then, of course, it's a city of governance. It is the capital of the state of Texas. So that's, pictured right here is the Capitol building. It's beautiful. You can go take tours of it, take pictures in front of it. There's just a lot of wonderful things to do here. Living in Austin, we get a lot of questions about the transportation. As a student, you will be issued a student ID card, and with that ID card, you can ride the CAP Metro, which is the city's public transportation system, for free. We also have various ride shares that you can call to get you around, and then bike and scooter rentals. You'll see a lot of bike lanes around the city because it is a very, again, bike-friendly city, outdoorsy city. The weather's interesting. The summer, it's pretty hot. I would say at times it's kind of unbearable, but that's why we go inside with the air conditioning. In the summer, it's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 38 degrees Celsius. In the fall and winter, and I apologize for that typo right there, which is basically September through February, it's a mix of warm and cold. We'll go anywhere from 29 degrees Celsius to 4. The odd thing is it could be warm one day and literally the next day it's cold and you need a jacket. And then the next day you go back to your shorts and flip-flops. So it's kind of interesting. You always have to check the weather during the winter so you know how to dress for the day. But this spring, so between March and May, it's glorious. It's beautiful. Everyone loves to be outside in the spring. A lot of our restaurants have outdoor seating. Eating on patios is ideal during the spring. It's about 26 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very, very nice. And then I dropped a link in here if you'd like to copy that down or get it later. If you click on that, it'll give you a whole list of things to do in Austin, how to explore Austin, no matter what you want to do, whether it's movies, food, dancing, clubs, different things like that. There's so many, arts, there's so many different and wonderful things to do here. So that concludes the main formal part of the presentation. If you have any questions, here are you can connect with us on social media, and I can also give Bianca my contact information if needed. So.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was wonderful. And while the questions keep coming in, Carlos, if you would like to tell us a little bit about your experience, you can choose if you want to do it in Spanish and English, although I think our attendees will really appreciate some Spanish. And yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience as a Colombian student at the University of Texas at Austin?
I was just going to ask about that, maybe de pronto quería en español. Algunas cosas que quisiera continuando en lo que Ángela mencionaba, solo porque sé que de pronto muchas personas vienen por primera vez a este país. Ángela mencionaba que cuando llegaban ustedes iban a recibir una I-94, ustedes no van a recibirlo, eso sucede detrás de bambalinas. Ellos en su computador crean un reporte y ustedes no van a ver nada que se llame I-94, no se vayan a asustar porque no reciban un documento. Incluso en el pasado, cuando yo vine hace muchos años atrás, que no había esos sistemas electrónicos, la I-94 tampoco en realidad te la daban, sino que daba como un reporte. Otra cosa que quería decirles era, cuando Ángela mencionaba sobre los museos, hay unas particularidades para nosotros colombianos. El museo de acá de la universidad es propietario de todo el legado de Gabo, las cosas, los manuscritos, sus libros, cuestiones que él escribía, no sé, cuando estaba borracho, no sé, pero todo eso está aquí, si ustedes quieren verlo, eso le pertenece a la universidad. Y ese mismo museo tiene también la primera fotografía de la historia, está aquí, la pueden visitar y pueden verla, no la pueden tocar obviamente, pero ahí está detrás de un vidrio y la pueden ver. Tienen también la Biblia más antigua, la Biblia impresa más antigua, ¿ah? Que obviamente cuando inventaron la imprenta, lo primero que imprimieron fue eso, obviamente. Entonces es bastante interesante. Otra cosa que Ángela mencionaba era lo del third party billing. Eso no es gratis, muchachos. Ángela les va a cobrar por eso. Entonces, si no lo necesitan, no lo usen. En mi caso, yo soy becario Fulbright y yo lo he tenido que usar, pero nunca fue por decisión mía, sino porque así fue como Fulbright funcionaba. Pero si ustedes tienen, digamos que Colfuturo tiene la posibilidad de pagar las cosas directamente, no hagan uso de ese servicio porque se los van a cobrar. Y es posible que Colfuturo no tenga eso en el presupuesto de ustedes ahora mismo. Entonces, ya eso es un descuadre cada semestre. Es un descuadre que se va acumulando y así me pasó a mí con Fulbright. Y espero que no les pase a ustedes, por eso lo digo. Otra cosa que les iba a decir, el clima es maravilloso. Para mí que soy barranquillero, el verano es muy lindo. Sí, a veces hace mucho calor, pero en todas partes aire acondicionado. No tienen que preocuparse por ese tipo de cosas. La ciudad, yo quería compartirles, yo no traje ningún PowerPoint o algo así, pero quiero compartirles, digamos, díganme si pueden ver lo que estoy compartiendo en la pantalla.
Sí, Carlos.
Bueno, y si hay preguntas específicas, por favor, las hacen y les contesto. Bueno, acá donde se ve aquí este círculo azul, aquí es donde yo estoy ahora mismo, esta es la Escuela de Ingeniería Civil. El Departamento de Ingeniería Civil, si hay algún colega que esté ahí, es de los mejores de este país, está el top 2 o 3 de Estados Unidos y sin duda uno de los mejores del mundo. Y aquí es el hogar de muchos métodos de diseño de taludes, de cimentaciones, nacieron aquí en este edificio. A veces yo voy al sótano y encuentro artefactos de 1800 que de pronto ellos ni sabían que estaba ahí. Es un paseo por la historia de la ingeniería civil estar aquí. Lo que ustedes ven aquí es la universidad. Si se pueden dar cuenta, las universidades acá en Estados Unidos no tienen portones ni nada, así como en Colombia. Es edificios libres, usted puede entrar y es muy bonita. Por ejemplo, esta zona es la zona vieja. Aquí pueden ver la torre. La torre es muy linda y estos edificios por aquí son muy bonitos. Si se quieren sacar fotografías, van a tener una, digamos, la oportunidad es más, pueden hasta sentarse ahí un día entero a leer, a estudiar y van a pasar un tiempo muy bonito. Si se mueven por acá, ya son edificios más viejos, pues más modernos, no son de 1800 cuando fundaron la universidad, pero si se dan cuenta los están modificando, aquí pueden darse cuenta que están construyendo algo. Estas son residencias universitarias, no sé si alcanzan a ver ahí. Aquí está el estadio de la universidad, mucho más grande que el Campín y, y es parte de la cultura estadounidense. Tienen una cultura deportiva y atlética muy fuerte y ellos, el equipo de la universidad es parte del legado que todo el mundo tiene que irlo a ver y etcétera. Yo no voy, no me gusta mucho y es carísimo también, así que no voy a esas cosas. Pero bueno, pero si quieren ir, aquí está el estadio ahí mismo y aquí está el gimnasio. El gimnasio es enorme, hay varios también, por cierto, no es uno solo, pero el gimnasio tiene piscinas, tiene saunas, tiene lo que usted quiera y todo eso está incluido en sus estudios. ¿Ah? No tiene que ir. Otra cosa que le quería mostrar era, perdón, que estoy usando un Mac y estos computadores son bien complicados. Si miran aquí a la izquierda, van a ver una zona que se llama West Campus. Esta zona me gusta mucho a mí, es muy linda y es muy odiada por los nativos porque es como vivimos en Colombia. Hay edificios, hay negocios, hay bancos, hay pizzerías. A mí eso me encanta. Como colombiano que soy, a mí me gusta salir y poder caminar al lugar donde puedo comprar comida, esas cosas. Eso para el gringo es comunismo, eso es diabólico, eso los odia. Y además, en particular, porque aquí es donde vive la gente joven, estudiantes de pregrado. Entonces, mucha gente, lo siento, mucha gente, en particular, gente que viene a hacer posgrado, vive más acá, que se llama North Campus. Si se da cuenta, North Campus es más como un pueblito. Muchachos, lo siento, pero está fallando mi computador. Sí, North Campus son como casitas, si se dan cuenta acá. Están bien bonitos, pero es más callado, más tranquilo. No hay negocios, no hay. Y eso, de pronto usted dice, bueno, nos toca caminar. No, les toca usar carro muchas veces. Entonces, eso, así es como le gusta vivir a los nativos de acá, pero a mí como colombiano, yo prefiero vivir acá en West Campus, que hay más cosas, hay negocios, hay todo, lo que usted necesita está ahí. Mi experiencia en este país ha sido espectacular. Austin es una ciudad muy linda, muy segura. Como mencionaba Ángela, es la ciudad que más crece en Estados Unidos. Aquí tiene el río, aquí cerquita está el río y el río tiene una serie de lagos que puede ver aquí y pasear por estos lagos es una cosa fantástica. Aquí hay una piscina natural, les voy a hacer zoom por aquí, se llama Barton Creek. Venir a esta piscina es muy bonito también, si se dan cuenta aquí tienen una represa y esa piscina se ve azulita y es azul, no tiene ningún tipo de tratamiento porque es agua natural. Entonces, si se dan cuenta, es una ciudad llena de parques, llena de cosas por hacer, museos, festivales, y si se vienen por acá, acá es donde viven los ricos, pero usted también se puede sentar por ahí a tomarse un café a la orilla del río. Es una cosa muy, muy, muy bonita. Sobre cuestiones académicas, como también les mencionó Ángela y les digo yo también, dependiendo del programa en que usted esté, puede que esté en el mejor programa del mundo o el mejor programa de este país. Es una ciudad, es una universidad sin duda alguna, es una de las mejores del planeta. Y me gusta mucho, con orgullo digo, ingeniería civil es sin duda una de las mejores. Eh, pero lo que usted necesite lo va a encontrar. Digamos, un concepto que no hay mucho acá, y es que esta es una universidad. Algunas universidades o algunos institutos de educación superior en Estados Unidos, incluso los muy famosos, no son universidades. ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Son institutos tecnológicos o son institutos de arte, sí, que solo tienen una serie de programas. Esta universidad tiene todos los programas. Acá hay medicina, acá hay ingeniería, acá hay todo. Es más, voy a ver si les encuentro la escuela de medicina, que es muy bonita también. No sé si sale por acá. Bueno, por ahí está la escuela de medicina, pero es también muy bonita. Entonces, lo que usted quiera hacer acá académicamente, sin duda alguna, el nivel académico es muy fuerte y tiene todos los laboratorios que necesite. Esta es uno de los lugares donde desarrollaron vacunas para el COVID y es uno de los lugares donde cada día desarrollan avances científicos que no hay en otro lugar. Si les gusta el entretenimiento, acá también, aquí está, este es el Student Union. Aquí se ve, este es un edificio de los viejitos, pero está bien remodelado. Hay una zona, no sé si las quitaron, pero habían unas hamacas y usted se podía sentar ahí, hacía de todo. Si se va al sótano, va a encontrar que hay bowling, no sé cómo es que se dice. Eh, bueno, bowling, hay también billar, hay cosas así, lo que usted quiera jugar y todo eso es gratuito. Otra cosa que hace la universidad, que a mí me gusta mucho, que también viene del departamento donde está Ángela, y es que ellos hacen excursiones. Durante la pandemia eso paró por un tiempo, pero cuando yo vine hace 5 años había bastantes excursiones. Entonces la misma universidad hace estos programas en los cuales te lleva de paseo y es muy bonito. Y a veces uno lo que tiene que pagar son $10, que no es nada, o $20 que incluye comida y todo eso. Entonces es muy interesante. Aprovecho ahora para preguntar si tienen alguna pregunta específica que me la hagan.
Justo te iba a decir, Carlos, tenemos una pregunta aquí. Bueno, primero voy a ir en orden.
Okay.
Angela, we have a question for you. Someone is asking about the difference between the J visa and the F visa, specifically, which one would be better. And they're also asking if when proving income or the amount of money that they are going to bring to sustain their time there, does it have to be a family member or could it be someone else?
Yo puedo responder también eso si quieres. Tengo la experiencia personal.
Podemos hacer
He
una,
tenido
Angela,
ambas.
you can go first and then Carlos can answer as well. Great.
So there's the F and the J are both student visas. Typically, a lot of students come on the F. That's the more common. The biggest difference is that the J visa, in order to come on that, you have to have funding outside of personal funds. And so, sponsor students are eligible for the J visa category, or students who are so if you're receiving funding from the university or Foco Futuro or Fulbright, things of that nature, you can come on the J1. Some sponsors, if they are giving you money, will require that you come on the J1. So it may not even be a choice for you. But if you are getting to choose between the two, and we're trying to determine between the F or the J, I would say if you have dependents, then you would likely want to come on the J, because dependents on a J2 visa have the option to work, versus dependents on the F2 visa don't have the option to work. So there's some difference there, but the main one is that in order to come on the J, you have to have funding from an outside source, outside of personal funds. In regard to how to show funding, it does not have to be yours or your family's. It could be a combination. I mean, we have students that will give us bank statements from a neighbor, a friend, a grandparent, an uncle, like all together. One of the hard things is that you have to show a minimum of 1 year. And as a former student, I know that's a lot of money to have to show up front, especially if you're doing, an MBA or an option 3 program where you're having to show, $30,000. So that's when we will allow you to submit multiple bank statements or letters from multiple family members with signed statements of support. Keep in mind, you do not have to pay 1 year of tuition upfront. You pay by semester.
Great, thank you so much, Angela. And then I'll give Carlos a chance to answer as well, but there is someone asking about theater programs, acting programs, more of the art path for graduate school.
That is another great question. And so I'm looking on the graduate website to see their arts, and if
They do have it. Sí, sí tienen actuación. Y hay profesores famosos también. ¿Conocen a Matthew McConaughey, el actor de Interstellar? Él es profesor ahí y hay gente también bien reconocida en el departamento. Y es uno de los edificios más bonitos de la universidad también.
So yeah, the college, if you're into the acting, theater, design, anything like that, musicology, that would be in the College of Fine Arts. So that's where you would want to apply. As Carlos mentioned, yes, Matthew McConaughey is a famous celebrity, especially, he was born in Austin and went to UT. He actually does teach classes in the Moody College of Communication as well.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And then the last question we have in here, I know this webinar was geared to graduate studies, but there's someone asking about undergrad, but they say that they are still doing the undergrad. I don't know if you're still there, Marlon. ¿Te refieres a hacer un transfer? O sea, ¿te refieres a cambiarte de universidad desde aquí para terminar tu pregrado en UT? ¿O estás... Okay, perfecto. Sí, eso es lo que se refería. Angela, so he's asking about the process for an international transfer student.
So are they currently doing an undergraduate in the United States?
No, in Colombia. So an international transfer student for undergraduate.
Oh, so coming to UT. Okay.
Mhm.
So you would still apply as an you have to go through the undergraduate admission process, which doesn't go obviously through the graduate school. It goes through the Graduate and International Admissions Center, which we call GIAC. So if you hear GIAC, GIAC, that's a Graduate and International Admissions Center. They do have very specific deadlines. So you have to adhere to those deadlines. Online application, transcripts, test scores, those things are still required in order to be admitted. But again, as long as you meet their requirements for undergraduate admission, you would not be applying as a transfer student, you'd be an undergraduate student. So transfer student would be if you're domestically within the United States transferring from another US university into UT.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think those were all the questions that we had come in through Zoom. We did have a couple through social media, but our time is almost coming to an end. So we'll just do one. Maybe Carlos can answer this one. Let me pull it up. Sorry, I lost it. Okay. Carlos, what do you wish you would have known before applying, and what surprised you once you got to UT? What has been your best experience?
Esa pregunta está bastante wishful y eso. Realmente ya yo estaba muy interesado en venir acá. Yo sabía lo que venía. Yo había hecho mi maestría hace como 12 años atrás, así que yo sabía lo que venía y realmente no había mucha sorpresa. Más bien quiero aprovechar para decirle, Marlon, no hagas eso. Marlon, termina tu pregrado en Colombia y vente a hacer posgrado acá. Si tú te quieres hacer pregrado acá, vas a pasar por un proceso todo raro, es súper costoso y te va a tocar hacer el ICFES estadounidense. Mejor quédate en Colombia y ven a hacer posgrado. Sobre los recursos, hay una pregunta de Juliana. ¿Era Juliana? No, Jennifer, perdón. La pregunta, acá hay recursos. Si tú vas a hacer posgrado, lo más seguro es que la universidad vas a encontrar funding directo desde la universidad. Tener a Colfuturo es un buen colchón, es una buena ayuda, pero cuando tú vengas acá es muy posible que tu profesor te pague un sueldo mensual y ese sueldo te da, si son 20 horas a la semana, con eso tienes matrícula, entre comillas, gratuita y tienes dinero para vivir aquí mensualmente. Y en ese caso tú podrías usar Colfuturo solo cuando lo necesites y no depender de ellos. Mucha gente no tiene esa posibilidad, que era lo que Ángela quizás mencionaba y de pronto ustedes no entendieron muy bien. Hay programas que se llaman Plan 3. Plan 3 son programas en los cuales tú no trabajas para nadie, sino que tú vienes como quien dice a tomar cursos y ya. Eso a la universidad no le interesa. A la universidad le interesa que tú hagas investigación, que seas parte del equipo, y si tú vienes solamente a tomar cursos, por tu linda cara no te van a pagar. Entonces, ese tipo de personas que están en Plan 3 no reciben fondos de ningún tipo. A esas personas sí de pronto les va bien con Colfuturo. Y también personas que hacen, por ejemplo, MBAs. MBAs son programas que usualmente no tienen fondos externos. Entonces, también ahí Colfuturo puede que sea una buena opción. Pero si usted viene a hacer ingeniería civil, medicina, ingeniería industrial, petróleo, téngalo por seguro que es muy posible que un profesor le va a pagar. Así que Colfuturo es una gran ayuda, pero es posible que usted no lo necesite nunca y eso es algo bueno también, porque así no tiene que pensar en después pagar todo ese montón de dinero.
Excelente,
Hoy, sobre la
muchísimas
visa, si me permites,
No,
es
sí,
mejor la
tranquilo.
J, pero no, eso no es opción de ustedes, eso no es decisión de ustedes. Yo tengo visa J porque vine con Fulbright, pero cuando yo vine a hacer maestría vine con F1. La J es buena porque su esposa o esposo tiene derecho a trabajar mientras usted sea estudiante. Mientras que si usted tiene la F, su esposa solo tiene derecho a estar en casa con los niños o su esposo. Mientras que la visa J1 y F1 para usted como estudiante prácticamente es lo mismo. Tiene derecho a trabajar 20 horas dentro del campus. Y esas 20 horas puede que sea idealmente con un profesor haciendo su proyecto de investigación, que al final es su tesis, su disertación, pero ojo que también puede ser trabajando en el gimnasio, puede ser trabajando en la cocina, puede ser enseñando un laboratorio, puede ser enseñando computación y todo eso se lo valen. Así que todo eso es válido. Todas esas opciones existen acá.
Gracias, Carlos. And then actually one more question. This one would be for Angela. They're asking about athletics on campus. Obviously, this would be for graduate students, but are there any opportunities for international students to be part of UT's specific teams?
So as far as, it's a Division I university. So it's, and we do have international students that do play sports for the University of Texas very formally. But if you're interested in doing it, we have wonderful intramural sports programs, which is competitive, but it's student level. It's not through athletic. Well, it is through athletics, but it's not like the main, like you're going to play on the football field or anything like that. But yes, there are a lot of student organizations that are sports-based and intramural sports, ranging from soccer to football, basketball, tennis, volleyball, everything. So you can do it recreationally, but if you're actually interested in doing it, I don't know if the word's, it's not professional, obviously, because you're a student here, you'd have to be scouted. Does that translate? You'd have to have somebody from the college come out to see you and ask you to play for the university. Outside of that, though, you can do it recreationally. Yes, most definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Angela. So that concludes our webinar for today. I know there are a couple of more questions. We will be sending a follow-up with Angela's contact information and Carlos as well, if he would like to include his email address if anyone has any questions. Angela, thank you so much for your time. Carlos, thank you so much for sharing about your experience. A todos les recuerdo que el convenio que tiene Colfuturo para sus beneficiarios con University of Texas at Austin es el 45% de descuento en el valor de la matrícula. Si les interesa aplicar el programa de crédito o beca, toda la información puede ser encontrada en colfuturo.org. Hacen clic en programas y luego programa crédito beca. Ahí están todas las fechas, los requerimientos, todo lo que ustedes necesitan saber del programa va a estar en esa sección del website, pero para que lo tengan en cuenta, la convocatoria abre el 10 de enero. Cualquier preguntita nos pueden dejar saber. También si desean una asesoría de Education USA, me pueden escribir a bsalvador@educationusa.org y con mucho gusto puedo asesorarles para sus estudios en los Estados Unidos. Y bueno, muchísimas gracias nuevamente. Gracias, Carlos, Angela. I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.